much everyone for coming. I think we will have more people joining us during the session. I'm Luis, I'm the current president of ERASMUS, the European Students Forum, which later on Lucille will present a bit more in detail. Thank you very much everyone for coming. I would like to thank very much the youth intergroup for hosting this event, and also Mrs. Pak for coming here and supporting the initiative, because we know we are very busy. So she will have now some words. So now the floor is yours, Mrs.
Yeah, oh, that's great. I just interrupted the meeting with Mrs. Ashton. So she was telling us what they are doing in the Ukraine, in Bosnia, wherever. But the answers on our questions were very empty, so to say. So we are in a situation that we don't know really how to act in all these different problems. And as some of you know, I am very much engaged now for 25 years in the former Yugoslav countries. And so I'm still with my heart there, and I was just by chance on Friday in Sarajevo to open the Winter Festival, but we couldn't do it because of the demonstrations, manifestations, everything was happening. Even during the siege at the early 90s, we did it, and we couldn't do it Friday because of these manifestations, which I expect now for years, because I think what the politicians are not doing there or doing is unacceptable, and therefore I think people have right to go on the street, but they should do it without burning cars and burning offices. That's not the way, but you know, hooligans are always entering such manifestations. We cannot hinder them. Anyway, coming to you, I want to say to you that I'm very thankful to the three organizations, which means the AGE, the Generation Europe, and what's the other name? Yes. Erasmus Student Network. That is it, yeah. And I think it's a good idea to try to find out if our program, which is so much accepted and prized, is really has any result on the European identity, on even the question if they go to vote. How they go to vote, perhaps? I don't know what's the content of your, like, do you ask them also not only if they have gone to vote, but if they have voted for what? I don't know. Perhaps it's also interesting if they can do it. I think it would be fine to know. I think that's important because, you know, we have in this year much more money than we ever had. It doesn't mean that we have enough. Much more from nothing is nothing, but much more from a little bit is okay. So we have 14.8 million, 14.8 billion euros for the whole Erasmus Plus program, which means the whole youth program, non-formal building and formal building. And for sure, Erasmus is a big part of it, the Erasmus itself. And as you know, or perhaps not now, I just want to underline it, we have organized at least that you can at least go in your bachelor time, you can go in the master time, you can go even during your PhD. That's great. It was not possible before. That is okay. And then, as you know, some of you have not been in favor, but I think I managed it at least to convince some of you. We are for a possibility to get a loan for a whole master study outside of your country. It is an offer. It's not a must. And I think why not offering it? It's not burdening as students in America are burdened when they have finished their school. It is 18,000 euros. I think that is manageable. And the parliamentarians have really softened and weakened the manner to pay back. I think we have done what we could, but we should not deny that it is an offer which may be accepted or not. So we have a chance to get more students going with Erasmus, and we didn't kill Erasmus Mundus, which is also a very much accepted. And in the globalized world, we need even to be linked to third countries, even to Switzerland. And I think we did what we could even to make Erasmus, how to say, even more livable. We are now supporting also summer academies, which was not so important, not possible before. We are linking much more Erasmus with the business world as well, if it is needed. So I hope very much that you, with your engagement in the students, and will help us to be ambassadors for the Erasmus. You are it, and with what you are doing now, I'm very curious how the results are. I would be really very unhappy if these results would not prove what we are thinking. So it's not that you are doing this to make us happy, but I think we should really get an impression if there is really an output even in this dimension, European identity and whatever, and the engagement for the European idea. Also, thank you very much, all three of you, and I wish you a fruitful work, and let us know the results. That's what I wanted to tell you, and thanking you all for your engagement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Sprack. If the results are negative, we will hide them. We won't show anyone. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll keep in touch.
Okay, we keep in touch. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much. So now we're going to have a very brief presentation from the three different partners. Okay, so first we're going to have Lucille Rieu. She's the Secretary General of IAG Europe, the European Students Forum. And yes?
Let's see if she can connect with the presentation so you can all see at the same time. Yeah. So I will be very brief because I guess most of you maybe already know what we are, but still it's important that we are here reminding. So AEG, it's the Association des États Généraux des étudiants de l'Europe, so was born in 1985. It's one of the biggest interdisciplinary student associations across Europe. I mean, we have different specificities. One of them being that we have no national level. And so we work on local level and then directly to European level, like avoiding national thinking. And we have also members inside and outside the European Union. So here you can see a bit our presence in Europe. AEG strives for a democratic, diverse and borderless Europe, which is socially, economically and politically integrated and values the participation of young people in its construction and development. So this is our vision. Here you can see it written. This is what basically we are striving for, and for doing this, Madalena. Sorry. Yeah, for doing this, AEG empowers students and young people in Europe to take an active role in society. So we are creating space for dialogue and learning opportunities, and also we are acting as representatives toward decision makers. And moreover, AEG strengthens mutual understanding and brings Europe closer to young people. So this is also one of our big mission to bring Europe closer to young people. And to do this, we are basing our work on 5 pillars, which are intercultural exchange, personal development and non-formal education, notably trainings, thematic project, policy and advocacy work, as well as being a forum for discussion. Yeah. So here you can briefly see some of our main and current projects, notably WIVOT project, the campaign for the elections, or others. You can see EVA at the bottom. And the next slide you can see also some of the platform which we are a member of, through which we are doing our advocacy work notably, and also where we have consultative status. And then just to close a bit of what on our impact, because last year we've done a lot of work to try to measure a bit the impact of AEG in terms of change on the members, on our members, on our AEGians. So but this is more the awards that we have received. Notably last year we received the Charlemagne Youth Prize for the Europe on Track project, and others on national level as well. And so this is mainly the results of, in few words, the result of our AEG impact measurement survey. So we realized that by being member of AEG, young people become more confident, and also that they feel more European. 100% said that they feel European, and 78% say that it's because of their involvement in the association. Then we also have some impact in terms of job employment and access to the job market. So we have also some quite satisfactory results, seeing that it does help members to access the job market and to feel more confident. And last but not least, also some skills that they say they have acquired thanks to their involvement and being active in the association. So we also are happy to see that this is the kind of thing that we are making our members, and we are helping them to develop. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay. So now we have here Stefan Janke, the president of the Erasmus Student Network, who will, yes, the floor is yours now to present ESN.
Good job, Janke.
Janke, I managed.
It's fine, it's fine. So yeah, I'm going to present ESN. Let's see if we get the slides on. So yeah, we as the Erasmus Student Network, as you might have heard already, we have been founded a little bit later than IG. We've been founded in 1989, so we've been actually founded when the first Erasmus students came back, and the European Commission said, how was your first Erasmus experience? And they said, it's really great, but we need some students on the ground helping the students going abroad. So we've been actually founded with the first homecoming Erasmus students. We are currently around 13,500 members. We are in 440 local associations, still growing. Each week we have new requests of new associations that want to become part of our network. We have the newest numbers. We provide our service to 179,000 students. And yeah, we are present right now in 37 different European countries. All our members are volunteers, so we are basically students really on the university level helping students. Our goal is to support and to develop international education and intercultural experience. So I mean, we do something quite similar to IG, but we focus really on international students. We try to help students when they come to a new country. So you can imagine when you are 19, 20, you are an Erasmus student, you go to a country the first time without your parents, the first time not living at home. So you are kind of nervous, you are maybe as well a little bit anxious. So we as the students that come and that help you, that show you around in the supermarkets, that help you with accommodation. So we really do a lot of work on the ground floor there. So we have as well a little bit of an overview. We just got recently Russia as a candidate member of ESN. You can see we are basically as well all over Europe. We try to cover as much as possible, really helping people to set up these associations to help students, international students all around Europe. If you want to go to the next slide, we have a national level, so we have as well this local level, local association, but we have as well a national level. We have 37 countries right now. That means we have 37 national levels, so to speak, that are as well managing the local level and that are the communication channel between the international and the local level. And just to tell you some of our international projects, I mean, of course, we are working on EVA, but we have as well a broad band. I just took some of them that might be interested in a bit connected to what we talk about here. If you want to go to the next slide, the first one that I would like to mention is as well a project we do together with the European Commission called Story. We are developing a web platform to match the demand and offer of traineeships. Because as we know, the big obstacle of students to find traineeships is to find companies that actually want to offer these traineeships. So we think there's a need for a non-profit organization to offer these services without charging the students to find these internships. And at the same time, we do a research about the actual obstacles of doing traineeships. So we really want some numbers. We want to see what is the obstacles of going abroad for traineeships. And within this framework of this Story project, we continue our project Prime, which we have been very successful with, which measures the recognition of credit mobility. We had already two projects that were measuring these. So the numbers increase slowly. The last numbers are from 2010, so we will see now whether these numbers increased or not. The next one that I would like to just mention quickly is the ESN survey. It's a European-wide research project. It's the biggest research project that is done regularly only by volunteers. We have around 12,000 answers per year, and we try to explore everything when it comes to international students. So we look, what is entrepreneurship? How does mobility influence entrepreneurship? How does it influence environmental behavior? How does it influence your language skills? And so on and so on. So we really try to show as well that Erasmus is good, not only from feeling. I mean, everybody that has been abroad knows kind of from the feelings that it's good, but we have as well some numbers. Do you want to, Rasmus, maybe close the door?
There's some more people coming now.
There's people coming. Okay, then it's fine. Just quickly, I know I'm a bit over time, so exchangeability is one of our very important projects where we try to promote exchange opportunities to students with less, unfortunate disabled students, students with special needs. So that is a very important project to us because we know that the numbers are very small of the students that are actually disabled but are daring to go abroad. I mentioned before what kind of big obstacle it is already when you're a young student and you have to go in another country. Imagine now you're in a wheelchair. The obstacle is even bigger. So we want to make ESN as an association more accessible, but as well promote these opportunities. And the European Commission now again has implemented the way that there's additional support for students with disabilities and special needs. So we think that it should be mentioned and that we should promote this more. So the aim is to create awareness. Yeah, you can go to the next slide. So another project quickly is Social Erasmus. It's basically that we try to bring the students, the international students that are in the different countries, to do volunteer work and to make them engaged in the local community. Because what we know is that what always lacks a bit is kind of the integration with the local community. You go abroad, you stay kind of with your Erasmus students and you have this international bubble. And this is something we want to avoid, so we try to really promote volunteering and kind of getting a bit more integrated with the local community. Part of this is the Erasmus in Schools project, which was our flagship project in 2013, which is kind of as well part of Social Erasmus, but it became really big and really important, so we decided to make a flagship project. So these young students, they go in high schools, the international students, they go in high schools and they become short-term teachers. So for one lecture, for a whole day, they teach in English, or maybe they do sport activities. So it's really open, but they basically go to the local community, show that there's, Europe is bigger than just the classroom and the people from the city or from this village. So they really show that there's more out there, and we had really, really great feedback on this project, and we can see what big impact it has on the students. Yes, that's it from our side. Thank you very much for your attention.
So thank you very much, Stefan. Now we have Joanna van Brede representing Generation Europe Foundation. So now they're going to present to us who they are, and then we will move on a bit more into the project.
Thank you, Lewis, for giving Generation Europe Foundation an opportunity to be part of this inspiring project. We're really glad to work with you and with ESN. Jeff was invited by AGA, the project's leader, to work on this project as a scientific partner. Christina will be telling you more later about that part, but first I will say a bit about Generation Europe. Generation Europe Foundation is a small independent NGO founded in 1995 in Brussels, so we're actually the youngest organisation, even though we're not a student platform. Since then, our mission has been to help young Europeans shape their future by facilitating understanding between them and the stakeholders who impact their future. Our main focus is on the EU. We care about informing young people about the challenges that this political project entails, their rights as young European citizens and consumers, and the opportunities they can grasp from a united and peaceful EU. So what does that mean in practical terms? Well, we produce educational material on the EU, civil rights, human rights, healthy lifestyles, and much more in all EU languages for teachers and students, and we provide it for free across the whole of the EU and beyond in Europe. We regularly conduct youth opinion surveys on key matters that matter to youth and young people across Europe, for instance about career expectations, knowledge and health issues, and of course now the Erasmus project. We also run discussion groups and forums such as the Youth Summit that we organised in the European Parliament several years ago, the most recent Green Forum on Green Entrepreneurship, and we regularly participate in and help to support different events across Europe. Next slide. To carry out our activities, we can count on a cross-border network of national partners in almost all member states. They help us localise educational and informational content to make it relevant for the target audiences. We also count on a large network of youth ambassadors. One of them is here with us today. Who study and live in many EU member states and beyond to help us understand what's going on in the member states and what's important to the young people out there in all corners of Europe. We have a large database. One back. Sorry. That's all right. We have a large database containing almost 80,000 postal addresses of schools across Europe and 40,000 teacher email addresses who we can contact. Next one. In other words, we aspire to be the trusted communication platform reaching tomorrow's decision makers, and we're committed to helping young Europeans shaping their future by facilitating mutual understanding between them and stakeholders who impact their future from public and the private sector. We're very proud to be part of this project because it matches our values and core mission. I'm here today with Christina, the Managing Director, and Kasia, who's there.
Kasia is there.
Yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Okay, that's it. Yes. Okay, thank you very much, Johanna. Now we have here Luca Scarpiello, who's the Secretary General of the Youth Intergroup of the European Parliament. They are the ones hosting this event, and thank you very much, Luca, and now the floor is yours.
Yeah, it's so first of all, let me bring the apologies from the president of the chair of the intergroup, Eider Gardiazabal Rubial, which couldn't be here because we are preparing the budget for 2014 of the EU, and of course you understand that this complies a number of obligations and meetings, and it's a very difficult period. We are very happy to be today with you, and we were extremely pleased of the AIG, but also ESN, Jeff, and other organizations that promoted this project, because basically we believe that today is not only enough to design some project that might work. We need also to put into the content, let's say in the things that we are building, also some important and fundamental ingredient. First of all is participation. And not participation because it's nice to involve the students, but because we believe that the participation and involving the students in designing the instrument that at the European level we are producing is a way to make them effective and tailored and able to impact the life of the students today and the quality of our university and of our educational experience. I'm bringing you also my personal experience because in my previous capacity I was working together with one of the shadow rapporteur, Katarina Nevedalova, of the Erasmus Plus, and with Doris Pack, and I'm sure that Doris clearly told you how important has been, let's say, the effort to make Erasmus Plus not only an effective tool, but make it effective through the participation. And the assessment part is still a part that we need to further develop in the next year. Is not, especially for the part concerning higher education, is not perfect at all. I think that also we need to develop cross-sectorial also assessing tool throughout the different issues. For instance, to evaluate the way how the different sector, you know that the Erasmus for All is putting together several educational sectors are cooperating and working together. Because, you know, mobility makes also sense only if it's seen as a democratic exercise. And let's say that unless as a civil society, as representatives of the citizens, we are developing together synergies on further developing those tools, or we will never manage. Because against us there are the member states sometimes. I hope there is nobody from the member states. There are member states, there is many times also the procedures that are pretty much sometimes self-referential at local level, regional, but also national level, and sometimes also European. So for this reason, I think that to check especially how we can link and the links between the Erasmus, this exercise, and also the next also democratic appointment like the European election, I think it's a very good instrument. I'm already inviting you, Eider asked me to invite you afterwards also to present the results that you are going to receive through this. And in the next mandate of the European Parliament, because let's say also through this we have already to start to designing the revision of the program which will start in 2020. So thanks a lot, I will not take other time and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Luca. See the aim. So carry out the research that will measure if a young person participates in the Erasmus program. This creates a European feeling in them and therefore motivates this person to participate in democratic processes on a European level, like for example the European Parliament elections. So why? We see the participation in European elections among young people is especially very low. The Erasmus program is one of the most effective tools that the European Union has created throughout its history to engage the citizens in the construction. We could even say today that the Erasmus program is one of the very few unique tools that creates this ownership in citizens towards the European Union. But at the same time, we have the cuts and the non-stable finances due to the crisis, and also a lot of data, as my colleagues were saying before, a lot of data missing on the social aspect of this, the social impact of the Erasmus experience. So the objectives. So to measure the correlation between the Erasmus program and the feeling of European identity, to measure the correlation between the Erasmus program and the participation in European Parliament elections, show new valuable aspects, so to create an added value to the Erasmus program. So this is the main idea. If we are able to create a very strong added value to the program, we will have a very strong argument when advocating towards member states not to cut and to invest much more in mobility for more citizens. And of course disseminate the results in order to advocate for more funds. At the end of the day, this is a battle that especially ESN is carrying out, but together with our colleagues with ESU and IAG, we're constantly advocating for more funds for mobility to open these opportunities to many more people, because we really see that they do have a very positive impact. So by, hopefully, if we're able to bring positive results out of this survey, we will have a very strong argument and a very big added value to the Erasmus program. So the main deliverables: a preliminary report, which Generation Europe Foundation has drafted, where we have some preliminary information about the participation of Erasmus students and young people in elections. We will have 2 surveys, one survey before the elections and one after. Then we'll have a communications campaign carried out by the Erasmus Student Network, and one evaluation and conclusion and final report. Hopefully very positive one. You see here the timeline, so we have the preparation of the drafting, and we have 3 study trips. We had them in December. We had them to Spain, Denmark, and France, where we were going to the universities, presenting the idea and the survey to students, gathering this feedback, and incorporating all these feedback to our survey before launching. We have today the official launch of the first survey. Then we will have the elections. After the elections, we will have the second survey, and then in September we will have the presentation. We will invite all of you again to the European Parliament here, where we will present the final results, which will be very good results. Then we also wanted to have an external point of view. So this is why we invited our Quality Assurance Board, which is composed by the European Movement International, which couldn't be here. They were supposed to come, but due to some personal problems, its Secretary General, Diogo Pinto, couldn't be here. And the European Sociological Association, with Mr. Betts. Did I pronounce it correct? Yes. So they are the ones in charge of giving us an external input, to make sure that we fulfill the different quality criteria throughout the project. And what are we looking for? To understand and to prove that if the Erasmus experience has an influence in developing this European citizenship that we talk. We hear very many times here in Brussels about this European feeling or this European ownership, but we still don't have concrete data of what it is. So by measuring one aspect, one criteria, we pretend to bring more statistics and more proof about this European citizenship. And what do we want to achieve? Again, bring the very big extra added value to the program, proving that indeed it has a social impact, and by doing this, giving a very strong argument to member states that much more investment in mobility is needed. So the follow-up of the project. No problem. The follow-up, so with EVA, as I said, we measure one of the criteria, which in this case would be democratic participation through voting. The second step would maybe be evaluating other criteria. And this is now the question which we launched to you, and we will want to interact a bit with you later on. What are the other criteria? What are the other criteria that measure or that compose this framework of European feeling or European identity? Okay, so that's all from my side. Now we have Cristina Fancello from Generation Europe Foundation, who will be presenting to us the survey part.
My name is Cristina. I am the Managing Director of Generation Europe, and we are here to present what we carried out until now, which is a background report, and the drafting of these 2 pharmaceutical surveys. I'd like to spend a few minutes to discuss the first preliminary results of our background report, which was divided into 3 different parts. In part 1, we gave, by the way, the project the report has not been released yet because it contains a preliminary conclusion. So we need to assess first the service results in order to integrate these results into the final scientific report. But let's go back to the report and the presentation. In the first part, we gave a brief overview of the theoretical framework behind the young voter participation in the EP election. As you can see in the slide, we use several data: Eurostat, Eurobarometer, and the turnout at the European Parliament elections, so several European data, and of course also ESN data from their surveys. We focused in this first part our attention on two aspects: declining participation in the EP elections, so the trends in participation in the European elections, with a focus on the youth participations and an analysis of the youth absenteeism. Okay, there should be a slide showing the trends in participation in the EP election. Now is doesn't pick the graphs. Ah, great. Excellent. So you have to trust my words. So, do we have several copies of the PDF, the PowerPoint? Huh? Because in the slide I wanted to show you, we had the trends showing the participation of young people, of general citizens in the EP elections, and we could notice a declining trend from the 1979 until the 2009 EP elections, from 62% to 43% Europeans decided to go to vote. So there is a decrease of 90% of the total participants in the elections. Then we focused also our attention on the youth participation, and also, as Luis mentioned in his data, we could witness to declining participation among the young people. And if one compares also the participation of young people in the national elections, we can see that the participation of young people in the EP elections is even less important. So I don't have time now to review all the voter behavior theories, and I cannot speak extensively about the theories about youth absenteeism. But what I found an interesting outcome of this preliminary scientific report was that young people, despite these quite negative trends in political elections, are still engaging with civil society and social political participation, but less via the formal channels. Thank you very much. Nevertheless, the formal channels of the political process, such as voting. It's the slide number 5. So this is slide number 8, 7, 6, and 8. Thank you. So you see now the decreased trends from 1979 until 2009. So part 2 of the report was focused on the Erasmus program, and we reviewed the Erasmus program since its establishment until the adoption of Erasmus+. So I don't want to go more in detail, and I'd like only to quote the report of the Commission, which states as a conclusion that the program had and has and will have a relevant pro-European impact, not only on individuals but also on communities and institutions. So I think that now slide number 6, the following, will show also in clear words what is the success of the Erasmus program. So I think we reached already 3 million students having participated in the Erasmus program. So we felicitate all the people around, in particular the European Parliament and also the Commission, for having adopted this great project. Then part 3 of the report, it was on data analysis. And the data analysis was really the most challenging part. Why? Because, as also Louise stressed, and also probably Stefan noticed, we are lacking of data concerning the youth participation in EP elections, and in particular Erasmus students and high degree students in the EP elections. So we don't have this kind of data. And as I mentioned before, the sources we used to draft the first preliminary conclusions in our background research are really data which are either aggregated, so it's difficult to extrapolate a breakdown information for categories of age groups and also categories of level of educations. So this said, one of the most important outcome of this part, the data analysis part of the report, was to identify baseline data on young people and their attitudes toward Europe. I will talk briefly about 3 categories of baseline data, which then we used also in our service in order to get comparable data from our service and also from the official data on youth participation in Erasmus, political participation in EP elections. So the first category of data is data on voting intentions and behaviors of young people. Slide number 7 shows that if we compare 2009 and 2014 voting intentions and behaviors, we observe that the no, I don't want to go to voting is decreasing in the 2014 EP elections, which could be a quite positive message, because that means that probably the yes, I'm going to vote group will increase. Unfortunately, we cannot infer this kind of positive conclusion. We need for this that we need to carry out a survey in order to gather specific information about the participation of young people, in particular Erasmus and university students, to get the confirmation that this trend could be also applicable to young people and Erasmus students. Secondly, we investigated the data on youth attitudes toward the EU. Slide number 8 shows that the evolution of the opinion of students and young people generally follows the overall population trend. Yeah. But they are more positive. That means that students show a more positive attitude even towards the young people in general. Being a student, a young people cannot necessarily be a student. So why this happened, we don't know exactly. Perhaps because the EU, as a political entity, has been always there for these young people, whereas for other age groups of people, this may not be true. For instance, the parents' generation, our parents' generation, were not used to get the European Union as we are get to use and to live in. Or also because perhaps students are less subject to economic pressures due to support from families, so they have a more positive outlook on society in general. So we don't know, and we need to investigate these kind of justifications or hypotheses. So we finally investigate, as a third category of baseline data, the correlation between, and I think now Madame Tack will be glad to hear this, the Erasmus participation and the political participation. So I'm glad that Madame Tack is not here, also because this preliminary analysis show that, just to explain, we have to put together data from different sources. So we had to extrapolate information. And for instance, the line that you see is the results, the linear results of people aged 22 years old. So we don't know exactly if this line represents Erasmus. We know from statistics on Erasmus program that the average age is 22. So we said we have different statistics about participation of young people into the EP elections, let's try to infer that if the trends of participation in Erasmus is the blue ones, let's try to infer what would be the 22 average age of people and see whether the Erasmus group could be also represented by these linear results. I'm not sure whether I was clear enough, but you will read our report and then you will know even more what I'm going to say. So this graph shows that if we can assist to an increase of youth participation, or no, excuse me, participation in the Erasmus program, we assist to a decrease of 22 students, of 22 years old students who are probably not going to vote or are definitely willing to go to vote. So, Madame Pack would not be so happy to see this result, but that's why we need to integrate this kind of information about the Erasmus population in our surveys. And let's now focus on the service we are going to do. So I explain you why we wanted to do the service, and also Louise and Stefan contributed to the debate about the necessity to carry out this service. But I'd like now to present the surveys. We mentioned already that we're going to have two surveys. One really to have a baseline results and outcomes and data about a big population, yeah. And the second survey we are going to launch only after the EP elections. So the first survey, we intend to qualify respondents, yeah, according to whether they have participated in Erasmus, interacted with the Erasmus, because even though a student has not been in Erasmus, could have had experiences where he met Erasmus students or she met Erasmus students, and this could influence also his or her perception of being a European or being in a much wider European context. And then we tried also to identify those who had absolutely not much contact with students from other EU countries. We will then explore for each category of respondents attitudes toward the European Union, the role of the European Union in the lives of young people, and also, which is the most important result, I think, the participation in the formal European political process. And in particular, just before the elections, we are going to assess the intentions to vote in the next EP elections. Yeah? We have used some of the official questions that have been already included in the Eurobarometer report, so that we can use, as I said before, comparable data. You will see on the project website, and we are going to launch today this survey, that we have inserted in the survey number 1 23 questions which are differentiated in 3 different categories. The first category, group of questions, are going to be addressed to students regarding the study abroad experience, and of course only people who replied, yes, I am a student, are going to access this kind of this category of question. A second category of question is about the European Union, which is open to all the respondents. And a third category of question is about the political participation, and is again open to all respondents. Survey number 2, as we said, we are going to launch it just after the EP elections. The main purpose is to have a sort of post-election report, self-report on the participation in the EP elections. We are going to ask again to the students if they went to vote, not which kind of political groups, of course. I mean, but it's not in our interest to assess these kind of questions. We refuse to do that. At least at Generation Europe, but you can carry out an independent survey on this. And we also again addressed the same qualification questions in order to see whether students who answered already on survey number 1 are also going to answer survey number 2. So we hope to be successful. We know that the average respondents to ESN and AG surveys are quite high. Also, our service normally shows a quite high level of answers. So we hope to integrate interesting and relevant feedback from Erasmus students, young people in general, and also high degree students in our final scientific background, scientific report. Thank you for your attention. I hope it was not too boring. But okay, this is our role.
Thank you very much, Christina.
You're welcome.
Okay, so before we go on to the ESN's part, I would like to make reference a bit of a question that now Vanessa just raised. Why not? You know, why not ask them for what they voted as well? Maybe that's the next step. So what political ideologies are?
I think, yeah.
No, because you know that there is a high risk to see this high level of nationalism. So that if the results are not as optimistic or good as we would like to see, that Erasmus students are more active in terms of the vote, etc., then another interesting result could be that they vote in a less nationalism way as compared to other group of people. That could be a very interesting result as well.
It's absolutely indeed a very good analysis that we can carry out also with the data that we introduce in our survey, because we ask questions to students about what is their feelings about the European Union. Are they happy with the European Union? Are they satisfied? They are not satisfied? And we are going to ask over their own judgments and attitudes towards the European Union. So in the end, if we see that a large percentage of people or students will answer absolutely dissatisfied with the European Union and I do not intend to go to vote, that we can infer from this that a large Eurosceptics among young people are not going to vote. Or the contrary, if we see that the results of young people is going to be, because I guess that there are Eurostat analysis about the polls in the end, so we can eventually compare also the results with our data and the data gathered by some other else. But we didn't want to have the impression that we were asking political questions, because in the end the second survey will only focus on, did you go to vote? Yes, no. Which kind of political group did you vote for? So we said, okay, do we want really to see whether a young person has decided to vote against Europe or for? So I said, I feel really very comfortable, but in any case, I will be able to infer a lot of information from their previous answers to other questions.
Okay, something to bear in mind for later on for our discussion. Now we have the third pillar of the project, which is carried out by ESN, the promotion. So how to reach the people. So Stefan.
Yeah, as we already heard from Doris Pack, but as well from Luca, that the main aim is participation, and that means as well participation in the survey. We have very good experience from our 3 organizations how to reach students. So I'm going to introduce you quickly our promotional campaigns that we do to actually reach students and make them aware of this project, but as well to make them aware of, to participate in this survey. So I just put on the slide the definition of a campaign. What is actually a campaign? So it is a systematic course of activities for a specific purpose. So the purpose that we have, these two, as I just mentioned, is to create awareness of the project, but as well to motivate students to participate in the survey. So what did we do? We basically created 2 parts. We created the print, the analog part, so it's posters, leaflets, roll-up banners. You can see one of the roll-up banners over here. But it's as well maybe the meetings that we have to create awareness of such a project. And the second one, and I think everybody knows, this is probably the most crucial one, it's a digital one. It's having a project website, but as well social media marketing. So we came up with different ideas that I will present to you now. So first of all, when you of course talk about print, about the campaign, you need a logo. A logo is pretty straightforward. So if you look at the logo that we decided for, we have Erasmus there, the face of Erasmus, and we have the vote ballots kind of filling the Erasmus hat. And of course we have as well, depending on the logo, you need colors, different fonts that kind of attract people. If we go to the next slide, you need different colors as well. I mean, the main color, as you can see as well from the PowerPoint slide, is kind of a dark blue. It's neutral. It's not trying to take too much attention from the actual, let's say, for example, in the PowerPoint slide, the actual content. But then we have as well, let's say, the feel-good colors, the blue that makes you feel like, yeah, this is a nice project. But as well, we want to create a little bit of awareness. So we have as well a little bit the provocative orange that you can see, for example, on the roller banner. It kind of goes in your eye and you see something and you are like, let's look at it. So we have different colors, and so we created different materials. Here you can see, for example, one of the posters. You have like kind of a tricky question there, like, Erasmus, hey, will you vote? So it's kind of like people want to answer in their heads, and then it's kind of a little bit provocative. So we created a poster, we created a leaflet that has a little bit more information, of course. What is the project about? Why is it important to go vote, to participate in such a survey, and so on. We have different posters with these, let's say, lines, with these questions to kind of, provoke the students that read these posters. And I mean, these ones are obviously the ones that we put up analog, like, I mean, on paper, that we have here, that we will put in different places. I think the next slide is a roller banner. I mean, you see it just next to the screen. But then we have, of course, as well, let's say, the physical meetings. I mean, this conference is, of course, part of the campaign as well. I mean, we create awareness of the project, we create awareness of the website where you actually go. So I mean, I expect as well later on everybody to go to the website, and everybody that, whether you participated in Erasmus or not, to as well go and answer the survey. So we had as well study trips where as well we promoted the project to 3 different universities, to young people already that gave a little bit of an input on the survey. So we already started promoting as well through the study trips the project as such. So you can just see some pictures of where we were, and like asking the students to help a bit with giving some feedback on the survey. But of course, the important part, as I mentioned before, is a digital one. We created a website, a project website, where you can find all the information about the project, not too much content. I mean, it is really the basic content, so people don't have to surf this website for 20 minutes to find really the crucial information. You can find all the information about the project, why is it important to take part in the survey. And here you will find, of course, later on as well the survey, the link to the survey. So this website, you should visit it directly after this conference. Unfortunately, I think nobody has internet right now, so it's difficult now to go with your tablet or your phone to check out the website. We have, of course, a Facebook website. I think that Facebook is still, we heard recently, I don't know if you're aware, that Facebook is like slowly decreasing and other social media are taking over, but especially in higher education, students that are in the age between, let's say, 20 and 30, they still use Facebook more than other social media. So we will use, of course, a page, EVA Facebook page, but as well we will use the tools that we have. So we will use the Facebook pages of our organizations to promote the local associations, to promote the project. So we'll really make a big Facebook campaign to really promote the survey. Last but not least, I think before the last slide, we have, of course, a hashtag, Erasmus Voting. As you can see, I already started just before the meeting to tweet about it. So that creates, of course, always a nice awareness as well, and as well to the stakeholders. Twitter is used a lot within, let's say, the field of Europe, of Brussels as well. So after when you have internet, go out there, tweet, and use this hashtag, Erasmus Voting. As well, link all of us, the participants, link Doris Pack, make everybody aware and spam them with that everybody has to go to the website. And I mean, this is kind of like campaigning. And last but not least, very big, just for you to take a pen now and write down, erasmus-voting.eu will be the website where after we already have the video. It's not the last thing, but it's the last slide. So just go to this website afterwards, really start filling out the survey as well. Different people from different organizations promote it within your organizations. We believe it is a very important project, and as such, you should really promote it as well. And last but not least, we'll show you like one of the videos. Maybe Peter, you can show it. By the way, Peter is the guy that is there on his MacBook doing the PowerPoints. He's the main one in charge of all these promotional materials. I think he deserves a big applause as well. So he created all the visual materials, roll-up banners and so on. So I really thank you to Peter as well. Let's see if we can get one of the videos started.
It's my desktop background.
Yeah, we already saw it. It's quite funny. So yeah, this thanks Peter. Very great. So this is just like a kind of a teaser, because as you've maybe seen in the background, we already recorded 17 different videos, kind of with these provocative, lines like, "Are you gonna vote? What about you?" And we already recorded 17. We still want to record some more, and as well, kind of to have a little bit of visual material, so that we don't only have text, but as well a little bit something that students can identify themselves with. And so we already have 17. We're gonna take some more clips, and you will find them all on the project website. So go check it out after when we are outside of the European Parliament.
Do you want to have your own videos well? Because you can also participate.
Yeah, we will maybe later on. Petra has a camera with us, so whoever wants to, participate, we can as well take some more shots, and everybody can, be the star of the campaign as well. Dom is very convinced. Cool. Yeah, thank you very much. That's a little bit about the campaign.
Okay, so thank you very much, Stefan. Okay, so before we move on to the next part, to the next panel of speakers, we're going to have a very short break because you have a coffee break waiting for you outside. So you have coffee and tea. So, inside, sorry. Also, we need you to sign your name in the list that we have here. So let's have from 5 to 10 minutes break where everybody can get coffee. Yes? Okay, so let's get started. So now we're going to pass on to the second part of this session. And we have here representatives both from our Quality Assurance Board and from the European Commission. So first, we're gonna give the floor to Vanessa Debias-Santon. Yes. From the European Commission, the Erasmus unit, so to talk about a bit of the impact of the project and what your opinion is about this initiative we're carrying out.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your invitation. We are very glad about this project, that it has been selected. It passed through a very competitive process, as you know, through the Erasmus centralized actions, and it has been successful. And why? Why is it important, and why the impact can be very high? Ms. Pak said before that we get 40% increase of the budget for Erasmus+. That's good, but as she said, it might be not enough. And also now we have to answer the European Parliament, we have to answer the citizens, we have to answer the journalists, and what will be the impact of this program. So far, since 26 years, we have many studies on Erasmus that shows how it has impacted the skills of the students, how they are more adaptable, flexible, how they increased their interpersonal skills that are so important for the employers, how it helped them to grow as a person, how they feel more European, but by how much? The citizens want to know, but what is the real impact? Does it increase by 5%, limited impact, or by more than 50%? And so far, this is what we are missing. This is really this quantification, these concrete results. So we have launched a study together with CHE and the ESN. The results will be published this summer. The preliminary results are already quite interesting. We have done psychometric testing on students before they leave on mobility and when they return, to evaluate concretely the impact on their skills. We have also had a study to look at not only the impact on their first job and the employability of the first job, but also what has been the impact later on their career development. And preliminary results show that Erasmus cut by half at least the risk of long-term unemployment. Very interesting. It also shows that Erasmus students have more chances, at least more than 20% chances, of having a managerial position after 10 years. Also very interesting. But there was a little gap, which was about this European citizenship. How can we concretely measure the impact of Erasmus, not only when you are a student, but also maybe after, later on your European citizenship? And one emblematic act of European citizenship is this vote for the European elections. So that's why we believe that the result of this study can be very interesting for us then to sell the impact of the Erasmus program and of Erasmus+. Erasmus, as you said, as you showed, about 3 million higher education students have benefited from it. Now with Erasmus+, it's about, for the next 7 years, 2 million students, 4 million people. So the impact is enormous. But I believe, especially for those European parliament elections, that a very important result will not only be whether we can show that Erasmus students have been more participative to the vote, but also how they voted. We don't want to know whether they voted for this party or the other, but I believe, based on the expected results of these votes, that it would be interesting to have a mean to assess at least whether they voted for a pro-European party or not. I would believe that it would make your study even more pertinent in view of the results that we could expect from this vote. But we are really here to support you because we really believe in this project, and it will be very helpful for all the students, for you as associations, and also for us, the European Commission, to convince all the policymakers, all the different countries, the European Parliament, of the added value of this Erasmus Plus program.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so now we have one of our board members of the Quality Assurance Board, Mr. Frank Welz, who is the Vice President of the European Sociological Association. So, as a reminder, this Quality Assurance Board is to ensure an external point of view throughout the project, so to make sure that we meet different quality criteria. So, the floor is yours, and thank you for coming.
Okay. Thank you very much for your invitation. I feel well located in the program and also at the table, because I think the second part of my speech at least will build a kind of bridge to the general discussion between speakers and speakers of the general debate. So I think it fits very well. I'm from the science department, so I think I should ask questions and try to figure out some answers together with you. And I will discuss 3 questions. But first of all, please let me say a personal note to that. On the one hand, I'm representing the European Sociological Association. On the other hand, it just happens that I have been an Erasmus coordinator in 2 different universities since the very beginning. So I always felt as a Socrates coordinator. So it's new for me that I'm an Erasmus coordinator, but I accompanied this since 20 years. And I think it's, all of you know this, and none of us will disagree, Erasmus is a very big success. And because, how can I know this? First of all, I see it in the faces of the coming back home students. Their maturity, their self-confidence. You cannot compare this to local students. This is for sure. You can do a study on this, but this is a very deep experience for me as a human being, as a coordinator for so many years. But second also, and this was to my big surprise, why is this so successful? I was in a position that I could compare in my former university in Germany, I could compare social science students who did an international program and social science students who did it locally. In a way, these are the same human beings, but just one went to this direction, one to the other. And my recent experience is in Austria and Innsbruck, where I'm located now. Here I could compare business students and business students who did an international degree, who spent 1 year abroad. And their job chances, not only culture, political participation, being good human beings in Europe, but their chances on the labor market. This is like when you compare these 2 groups, social scientists in Germany and business students in Austria, this is like day and night. They are much more preferred, these international people. You don't know this from outside, but when you see this in front of your own door experience, this is a big thing. Now I come to my 3 questions. First question comes from us, from the association. We could ask ourselves, why should we support this empirical project and not one of several thousand other empirical projects? For us, there were 3 reasons which make it clear for us we will support REG and your voting assessment project because of 3 reasons. First, who is doing it? These are students. This is the youth. This is our future. Second, what for are you doing this? What is your objective? You are, of course, a non-profit organization. You strive for the common good, for the public good. And this is also our intention. We have to work for the public good in Europe. So this is the second point, and I will return to this at the end of my short speech. You struggle for universalist values, the values of the Enlightenment. You know, all people should have the chance to move from here to there. All human beings are equal, and we will try to open spaces for them. And third point, we think our organization is quite similar to your 2 or 3 organizations. On the one hand, we are much younger than you. We are founded in '92 only. And we have much less people, much less members. You have 13,000, we have 2,000. But the similarity is we are not country representatives. We are elected by members, 2,000 members. And then we just, and this is what was very impressive for me to see it on your website, how REG is organized in Europe. You don't have country representations, but you have, of course, many local representatives in universities. So you are just constructing a new Europe, disregarding the former boundaries. This is very interesting. Like the market is doing. The market is constructing its own world beyond all boundaries. You are doing the same. You just do it. Yeah? So you are working for Europe unlimited, and we share this. We share this objective, we share some similarities in the social structure of the organization, so we support you, of course. Europe Unlimited. This was our question, why do we support you? Now I'm here and I expect what could be your questions, why do you invite us, you know? So now you think, as I think, you think these guys, they come from science. So what do you expect from science? You expect that they are pale. Yes, they are pale, but then you also expect they have in social science they have a long beard and they are very skeptical. I'm not skeptical. I'm enthusiastic as you are. But third, I think you also expect they should be critical, and therefore I will do my very best to bring in critical remarks and because for making our things better, in science we must be critical, and then we are better than being uncritical. So. Which critical things could I bring into the discussion, and we can then open the floor after my remarks. The thesis, the point, the outcome, the main argument that is defended in this study, and I'm sure this will be the outcome, because there are other studies, they have similar things, but you are new in a new field, and the outcome is, and your argument is, social interaction creates identification. In our case, identification with Europe, and therefore also an increase in political participation. This is the main argument. All of us believe in this. This will be the outcome. What will we have to have critically in mind when we talk about this? There are 2 things, 2 arguments. First, a methodological one, and second, a sociological one. The methodological one goes as follows. When we talk about what is the state of my health, my body, how good I am in sports, you know, I cannot say I jump 1.50 meters and say this is good or bad. I have to compare this. I have to compare your achievement in sports to your age group. I have to compare my achievement in jumping to my age group. So what we have to do when we talk about this results later on, we cannot say Erasmus students do this and this is the outcome. We can only say this if we compare this group of students to another group, to a control group. And Christina did well prepare this, because, as I think it was even written here, we will compare Erasmus students and non-mobile students. Yeah, this must be compared. What else could we compare? We could also think critically, we could think, is it really Erasmus, or possibly another control group could be possibly the motivation for doing all that, for exposing myself to go to Poland, to Warsaw, and to spend 1 year there, to invest all that. Possibly the motivation is anchored in my family or in my former life or elsewhere, not only by the Erasmus choice. So it could be possibly students who invest in picking up in learning languages, French, Spanish, Chinese language. When you are 25, why do you study Chinese? You don't go for Erasmus, but you study Chinese language. So language students, possibly this is the same motivation like in our Erasmus case. And third, also a possibility can be discussed. Possibly it's even anchored in your choice of your subject, of your discipline when you go to university. Possibly students of medicine and engineering, they are more locally oriented, but social science students, philosophers who study about enlightenment, people who go for languages should be, of course, they struggle for this universalist values, and their motivation and their thinking will be more open to other spaces too. So this kind of control group should be there, and I think it must be kept in mind, of course. And one remark in this section, methodological question, which I only experienced now in this afternoon. I did not know this before. The question is, who will fill in this questionnaire, this survey? Yeah? I thought you will do a study in these 10 universities and that 10 universities, but now I see it's Europe-wide, and I think it's very clever and strategically useful, because you broaden the scope. All of us millions, thousands of students will see about this, so it's a good strategy. Your campaign, Erasmus, will you vote this campaign? But we have to keep in mind, this is a campaign. If we talk about the results of this campaign, of the data that we collect in our database here in the machine, we cannot say this research has the scope is limited, because there's a very strong pre-selection. If I ask you, all people who you have a questionnaire about boxing, then please fill in. Of course, only those who like this, who are interested in it, who read about Muhammad Ali, they will fill in this, and then it's a pre-selection. And so this can be done. It's a campaign. It's a strategy. I think it's possibly the better strategy to go out, yeah? But it limits, it restricts the results. We cannot go into this detail now, but possibly you can, if you like to do research, you have to say, I will go to the University of Paris, I will get the admission by them, they accept this usually, they send a questionnaire to all 20,000 or 100,000 students, and then if you do this, then it's research. But if you ask, I invite you who like to do this, and it's pre-selected, then the results must be created very, very, very carefully. And we cannot easily talk on them. This is the result. People who do this, they are for political participation and all that. Third, possibly more interesting and possibly also more important, sociological contextualization. This is my last point. I teach a course for freshmen, and I always ask the students on the following. Later I'll report them results of a bigger study, of a big data survey study. But first I ask them, how do you identify yourself? How do you feel, your question, European? I ask them, do you feel as a European citizen? Do you feel as a part-time European? Sometimes 4, sometimes less, like the Swiss, a bit 4, a bit less, yeah. Or do you feel as a national, as a regional person? Do you claim your national identity first? What is the outcome? I would say, it varies from year to year, but it could say 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. All boxes are filled equal. I was disappointed. Only 1/3 for this European identity. Although my university, Innsbruck, it's much closer to Germany, Italy and Switzerland than to our capital, Vienna. I should not be disappointed, because the big data are saying 30% of people who identify with the European identity will say, I'm a European citizen. This is a very high number. If I check the control group, which is all people in Europe, then a report of the sociologist Neil Flickstein says roughly about 10% of the Europeans identify themselves as a European citizen first. So my numbers of students is very high. The number in Europe is relatively low. Part-time Europeans are about roughly 40%, and full-time national citizens who claim their national identity, this is about 50%. So, Now comes the question where my students are always very happy about it when I ask this. I ask them, the average in Europe, in all European countries, is 50%, and more concrete, 44% claim first their national identity. But there are 4 countries that go beyond the hurdle of 50%. More than 50% of their population claim their national identity. Which are these countries where people feel more national than European? And this question makes my students very happy. The first country is very clear. I will not ask you. The first country is, of course, UK. It's clear. Possibly Switzerland now also. The second country is, this is for my students, there are I think 28 countries, so they need 15, 20 countries to cover these 4 options. But the second country, my students don't know, the second country is Finland. And the third country, this is most often a simple answer for my students, they find it out, this is Greece, these 3. And then I ask, what is the 4th country? And the answer makes them very, very happy. What is the 4th country? What do you think? UK, Finland, Greece. Denmark? No, unfortunately not.
Germany must be.
Austria.
Austria. I'm very happy because
Just because they're close to Switzerland.
So, indeed Austria, but now the sociological question is, why is this the case? Why students identify with Europe and the population does not identify? I mean, this is a result, this is a side effect. Why is it? How comes? And I give you one example and then a more sociological explanation, and then my work is done here. The example is, I talk to students, I say, how does it come? How did you feel before? How do you feel now when you are 20 years old? One person raised his hand and he said, look, it's the following. Coming from South Austria, I always were against Europe. Why? Because my parents, my grandfather, they talk around, my boy group, the peers, this talk is there. This is in Austria, as you know. There's this right-wing party and so. So this was in my mind, so I voted for that. I mean, I feel this. Then in last summer, I went to Croatia. I went for holidays. All of us go to holidays, more in Northern Europe than in South, by the way. And what happened? I fell in love. I fell in love with a girl from Croatia. Since from then on, of course, now I think Europe is not so bad. So I also have some exchanges, and now my mind changed. I mean, it's very simple, but all of us know this. This is social interaction matters for your political opinion. This is very clear. Everyone can understand this. The sociological thing behind sounds more complicated, but it's in a way the same. I refer to the study of Flickstein. He says we should not only understand this in terms of culture. Some people are more clever in their mind, like us. We are more open and we are more politically correct, and the others are left behind. We should not see like that. We should see who is benefiting. For whom is this Europe and for whom not? Who feels included, who feels excluded? Of course, all of us feel included. I see it in your eyes. I mean, you work here, I'm invited here, so I think I'm included, I feel good. 3 groups benefit from Europe. These are the business owners, the European market. Of course, in Switzerland, you see now, they say, oh my God, what have they done? They need the open market and the laborer who move from here to there. They are clearly defenders and Europeans, the owners. Second, the managers, of course, it's the same. And to this whole same group of white-collar workers, also included, besides managers, are, of course, all professionals. All professionals, engineers, who work for these firms, who have this international business. And the third group, these 3 groups are the people who benefit from Europe. The third group is all people in education, all teachers, professors, researchers, and students. Why do they benefit? Because of Erasmus. They can move from here to there. They have girlfriend in Croatia. and because they are the future engineers and the future professionals who can also have a job in Austria. I mean, it's so close to Munich, so in Munich, in Italy. So we are the generation who, I mean, we are the people, the educated people who they have benefits from that. And then it's clear that our mind goes in this direction. Yeah? And people who are excluded, the blue-collar workers, the elder people, you know, all of you are young people, except me, but the elder people feel more excluded. They cannot travel so much, they don't have the education, and first of all, the uneducated. When you don't speak the English and the French language, you don't speak any language at all, you don't have a professional degree, you don't have a university degree, you don't feel invited to Brussels or to elsewhere to a job, you know. So you think, oh my God, migrants are coming, taking my job. So this is...
No? I can start.
Yeah. Can you maybe say your name and...
Sure. Marco Rosa from ESN. I think the project is good, looks good. It will be very challenging to achieve a good number of respondents, to give some validity also to the project. I have a question. Well, when I was on Erasmus in Finland, it was during the elections of the current parliament, and I received a nice letter saying, which one would you like to vote? For Finland or for the Italian members of the parliament? And of course I said Finland. So do you plan to maybe include this kind of question? Are you going to vote for your own members of the parliament, or are you going to vote for the national member of the parliament where you're living in?
No, we are not going to ask this. We are going only to ask whether the students is willing to go and vote and take part in an active way to do it.
Don't you think it could be also interesting to see if there is some kind of loyalty to the country where you're studying during Erasmus?
Yeah, I mean, what I've learned from the ESN previous service is that when they assessed the ability of young students to take active participation in the elections, often there were logistics and legal barriers to go and vote. So now, if we open so much the questionnaires, but we are absolutely open to discuss further the questions, despite the fact that we launched it today on the website after months of working on it. I think that we are going to really ask questions which could be probably answered by a really small percentage, but it could be indeed an answer like, yes, I'm going to vote not for my national MPs, but for my posting MPs.
For me, for instance, it was easier to vote for the Finnish ones than for Italians.
I don't know, I was in Erasmus more than 20 years ago, and I am Swiss citizen, so I couldn't go and vote directly. So I was studying. I was doing the Erasmus in Germany, and I knew that there were a lot of Erasmus students like me who couldn't go back to vote because they didn't have money, and because the May-June period is really the exams time. So the idea to take the train and spend money, go back, vote, and come back, and then study at the same time to pass the exams was not an ideal situation. So a lot of Erasmus students, and this was also confirmed by ESN. But yes, it could be a question which can give us probably the answer of being so open-minded that you are even able to be represented for 5 years by a Finnish MEP instead of your national MEPs. Yeah, that could be a further evidence that you are a true European voting for.
I mean, I know that there are initiatives. This is why I'm very happy that the League of Young Voters is here with us. There are initiatives. Also, IRG has another campaign to inform students how to vote when they are abroad.
It's actually yes.
Yeah, but it is very interesting to evaluate if students would be loyal to their national elections or not, or if they're so open-minded that they really feel this European.
Because in the end, then you went back.
But it could also be a matter of
Then you
practicality.
yeah.
Because, for instance, I had to take a flight back to Italy if I wanted to vote for an Italian member of the parliament at that time. But I could have just come to the closest school to vote for a Finnish member of the parliament. So for me, it was more feasible to vote for a Finnish member of the parliament than an Italian one.
But this, I think we did discuss this, it also depends on which country you go
Of
to,
course.
whether you can register, and you would spend long enough there to actually register to be able to vote. We have included as one question, if you didn't vote, as one of the answers, no, it's too complicated, not possible to register to vote. So we have
Yeah, that's what
We have
discussed this.
included a little bit the difficulties of going to vote. But yeah. Yeah,
quick
but it's
suggestion.
a good input. I mean, we are going, I think in any case, if you allow me, Luis, eventually to organize a meeting and to discuss briefly 2 or 3 different variations. I'm not sure what we're going to do, but of course the inputs of Franz those are very useful, I think.
Yeah, I mean, just shortly, I mean, the final questionnaire is going to be asked after the parliament elections. I mean, we still have some space as well, maybe to adapt. And I think it's a very valid point. I guess we'll discuss and see how we can influence it.
Okay, so maybe another question to throw at you would be, what would be the follow-up of this? Okay, once we have these results, what comes after? No? Yeah, Chris, and then Justin.
I'm Chris from the League of Young Voters, the initiative you were talking about. It's also, I just introduced it very shortly because we're exactly trying to bring and create a space where young people from all over Europe can express ideas and actually build a bit of European identity around the elections, while social media provide us for the first time a real opportunity to start doing this. So absolutely support this research, and one of my points or remarks I was thinking about is after the elections is this research will have some evidence. Are there other expat organizations who did similar research on the influence of living abroad, but then not necessarily with young people, but with older people, or even in Brussels? I mean, I'm Belgian myself. You see there's a very low participation rate in communal elections, for example. It's a bit a similar process. Maybe it could be interesting to see and compare, and you could learn from that as well. Maybe even now you could look into it and see which kind of questions they ask. I just wondered if this thought you, or something you did as well.
Okay. Rasmus?
Yeah, I would just like to repeat what someone mentioned already. I think it would be extremely interesting for the future, sometime in the future, to see what actually people vote for if they are Erasmus students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you go as far as asking the exact political
Yes,
party
I
or
would
group,
go
or
that
just
far,
if
yes.
it's pro-European extremist?
I understand that this is not the part of this study. I understand that completely. But I think sometime in the future it would be very, very interesting to see. Do they vote socialist, liberal, conservative, what?
But are you talking about Erasmus students? What kind of political parties Erasmus students vote, or in
Yes.
general young people? Because
No, this.
in general young people you have statistics.
Yeah, no, I mean Erasmus students.
Erasmus students.
Yes.
But then we can ask a YESEN to carry out this out.
That would be an excellent idea, for example.
I'm a bit afraid it might draw the attention to the wrong points.
Yeah,
And
I think it's
I think media and publicity will play a big role in the image you build around this, and the message has been taken. And I'm afraid that they will focus only on this pro
question.
or contra-European, and that's not the point.
Exactly. That was our fear.
Maybe if I can make one remark as well. We have to keep in mind that political parties in the European scope are, like on the European Parliament, I mean, they go together, the conservatives, the liberals, and so on. But it doesn't say that someone that votes for a conservative in Finland, that the Finnish conservatives have exactly the same opinion about Europe than the conservatives in Italy or the conservatives in Germany. So I mean, you would have to basically do a deep study on how much do actually the different political parties support Europe. I mean, the idea is that we talked before, I mean, Vanessa said that as well, supporting kind of the idea to look for pro-European parties or not. I think it is not so straightforward. I mean, of course, on European level, the people in the European Parliament, they very clearly state whether they are pro or not. Whether, I mean, the ones in the conservative are pro or not. But on the European scale, I think that in Germany it's not so straightforward whether the left or the center or the center right. Or I think it's not pretty straightforward to say who is pro-European or not, just depending on whether which political direction you are when you go to different countries. So I think it would go one step too far.
Okay. Yeah.
Daphne Scherer, European Commission. I actually think it would be interesting as a step further to see what can then be the role of Erasmus students in bringing the awareness of European citizenship, on the importance of voting, in helping reduce the absenteeism of young people, both in their personal life, when they're back with their families, do they have an influence on them? Do they have an influence on their peers? Does it also make a difference to the local students in the host country they are in? Is it something that they usually talk with the local students in their receiving university, for example? So I think, of course, Erasmus students are very often considered as a model for other students. We have seen the results, as you were mentioning before, of all the skills that enable them to be more successful in their professional life, but can they also have an impact concerning this aspect?
Yeah, just quickly. So do Erasmus students keep everything for themselves and are a bit egoistic, or do they share this impact in their local realities? If that's...
Yeah, but also what can it be their role? I mean, I think you are going to have some results from the study, and it would be interesting also to have in the results what you would propose as their role. I mean, first you're going to see the results, and you're going to come up with conclusions and also maybe suggestions on that. And I think it would be interesting to see what kind of impact they already make and what impact they could make.
But thank you very much for your comment. And this comment allows me to create a link with what Frank said about the importance of, or probably the potential limitation of a research like this, to be limited to a specific topic. And you suggested, okay, you are campaigning, which means that you are potentially reach only those students who are already Erasmus students. I just want to make a clarification. We did decide to go for a sort of a neutral platform website, so an ERAS website. We didn't use ESN, we didn't use the EAG, we didn't use the EGS platform. Okay. We wanted to neutralize the potential target group. In that sense, our intention is to use the social media and the website and also all the contact points in the schools and even outside the schools, the universities, to reach the most important target audience. So your remarks suggest that probably you think that you are going only to reach Erasmus students. By this, we can ask specific sub-questions to those specific categories of people, which we are going to do, but in a more larger way than you are probably suggesting. But one thing, there are questions which can be answered by students or by young people who are not youth students and who are not Erasmus. And we ask them, have you been in contact with Erasmus students? And we try to infer from their answer what has been the impact of the Erasmus students in their environment. You see, I'm trying to take also the position of non-Erasmus, non-students to understand whether their contact with Erasmus students have changed their minds. In that sense, yes, we can infer that a certain percentage of Erasmus students, when they go back home, they're trying to create networks and do socialization with non-Erasmus or non-university students. So we are trying to do this, but again, thanks for your contribution, and we think we can eventually improve our questionnaires in order to get also explanation of the impacts of neutral.
Okay, we have one remark here from Stefan.
Actually, three.
Okay.
I'll be very brief. So, the first thing is exactly about this point that as well that Frank kind of tackled of I mean, you generally have this problem that when you do a research that people answer normally the ones that are more interested in that field. So the only thing that we can basically do is try to minimize this impact. And I think that with a European scope and with having a very big sample, we can minimize this. But there's two more things I would like to mention. The first one is that we always use the help of the universities in our research, and as well in this one we will use the help of the universities to as well reach this peer group. And for example, in our research we have 20 to 30% of non-mobile students that we reach. So we actually have quite a big group that we can take for comparison. So we're quite confident that the impact is minimized to really like something very small. The second thing I would like to mention is you make very interesting remarks about this national identity, European identity. We try to research this and we didn't go very deep, and that's why it's very important as well to research this further. But what we found out is that people that have been abroad are more European, but at the same time as well more national, which is kind of logical. When I'm German, I'm from a small village. I mean, I don't feel so German. I feel like, well, I don't know much about other countries. But once I'm abroad and someone actually says, hey, you German, then I feel more European, I feel more open because I'm getting confronted with other cultures. But at the same time, I foster my own national identity as well, because it's actually the first time that I'm confronted with my own nationality, because before you don't do, the national newspaper doesn't talk to you about you as a Germans all the time. So I think that it's quite an interesting point to keep in mind. The third thing is, you said that there are three groups benefiting from Europe as such. You basically said it's, I mean, you said it in a little bit nicer words, but the rich and the famous kind of. I mean, the business people, the white-collar workers, the managers. And then you said something very interesting. It helps everybody with education. And then you said the ones that struggle are the ones that are looking for inclusion, the elderly, the, let's say, not so well educated. And I would like to turn this thought totally around. I would say that Europe helps people with education, but educated people help Europe. So that's why these kind of programs, this mobility program, go very much into educating people about Europe and the positive effect. I think it is very natural that, let's say, older people that are maybe not well educated or the less educated are not so well aware of the benefits of Europe. So I think that we should not think about this education as something that is part of either the positive or the negative, but kind of as the way to solve it. I mean, if I look at elderly people, lifelong learning is one of the big topics right now, and it's something that comes from social interaction. So if, let's say, I talk to my grandmother, I always tell her how great Europe is, and I think that, I mean, she changed her mind quite a bit about, you know, other countries and other cultures. And I think that it's the educational part, the social inclusion go very well together, and I think it's not so easy to just say the rich gain from Europe and the poor don't. I think that we have to rethink this a bit. Yeah, that's my remark.
Okay, so unfortunately we're running late, so we have to finish here. Before we leave out, because we have some nice sandwiches and food waiting for us outside, I have some reminders here. So please participate in the survey, because you can win one of the 5 fantastic trips to Brussels. If you don't already live here, to the closing conference. Promote this, help us promote it. Yes, I would also like to thank the team. I would like to thank Brikena, Peter, Anya, Joanna, Christina, Stefan, Madalena, and Katrin, who was not able to be here. They're doing a great job and helping us bring this project forward. And yes, if any of your organizations, or any of you are interested in helping and contributing to our project, please approach us, please write to us. We're very willing to hear from you. And yes, let's make sure that that goes to the commission as well. Let's make sure that we make this project a success and that we have a great follow-up and great results. So thank you very much, and let's go have something to eat.